Josh Allen, the first ever quarterback, first ever player in NFL history to have 3 passing touchdowns and 3 receiving touchdowns. I'll give you a little spoiler alert for when we get to the GPP section of the Gillcast. Josh Allen's not going to factor in. So that is how the day went. This is the Week 14 Gillcast.
It's Short King summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's Short King summer.
All right, Nate. Also, spoiler alert to the audience. Sammy, not here. He's like, dude, I gotta just go. I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
But when you see Sammy's team, you'll understand why we had to tell him he had to take the night off.
It's always funny when someone doesn't show up and then they're not able to either defend or brag about their team in absentia. I didn't even ask Levitan this week because the last time I did it, he was like, "Oh, you need some extra time," and I didn't want to ask Blender either because I didn't want to get lectured in case I played bad. Normally Blender would be the fill-in, but Nate, I did not press submit on my lineups this morning until like 11:59 and 46 seconds left. Like I'm on my YouTube chat. I had until about 30 seconds before lock, I had Aiden O'Connell at quarterback.
Wow. I don't think I ever really looked at Aiden. I mean, what were you, who were you trying to get to so badly?
Well, let's
Jefferson?
let me no, not Jefferson, which actually we have a lot of stuff to talk about actually.
Yeah, it was interesting.
There's a lot going on in cash and in tournaments. So let's just pull up. You and I played the same team. The team that Nate and I played was Sam Darnold, Zach Charbonnet, Alvin Kamara, Jauan Jennings, Jerry Jeudy, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, Isaac Guerrero in the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. What I was trying to get to was I was trying to get off of Jeudy or Myers, kind of depending, to Mike Evans. And if you did Aiden O'Connell, Mike Evans over Jeudy, and the Titans defense, or actually the Browns defense. You had the extra $100. You could get there, and that is about what I played. That is very close to what I played. I'm very glad that I did not play that. But yeah, it was about getting to Evans. Perhaps most interestingly, neither of you or I played Barkley, despite this being like the Barkley week. So talk to me a little bit about, because I tried to get Barkley for like 2 seconds, and I was like, this is dumb. This is extremely dumb.
I was never going to play Barkley. I mean, it's not that I was never going to play Barkley. Barkley has never once simmed out well in any of my stuff. His overall expected workload is just not what you would think for the points that he has. So like he gets there on efficiency. He's only had like 1 or 2 games above like a 20 DraftKings expected points. It's not actually workload that is getting Barkley where he's getting. It's unbelievable rushing efficiency, and it looks like it's sustainable, but at the same time, like his target volume isn't as great as what I would want it to be at that price. And so I was never going to play Barkley. I told Sammy that, like, if I play Barkley, Barkley's going to get 12 carries for 78 yards here, and it'll be the worst week he had. I mean, even with 20 rushing attempts, I wasn't going to play him. So he had one target. He had one target.
He had one target. How many points to cash in 50-50s this week? I'll pull it up in a second. I will. Yeah, it definitely took a lot because of how owned people were. So I guess let's start out at quarterback. I did think about AOC just because like the range with Darnold, the floor is a little bit lower than you think, not because he's bad or anything, but because their defense is so good that, look, anyone with big Justin Jefferson bags, I think, realizes that they spend the second half of games pretty much pounding the rock. I mean, that is basically what they do. So I was like, well, AOC is at least going to get 38 passing attempts. Jameis, I've kind of thought about Jameis, but ultimately it's just like, dude, there's not like an easier matchup. And if the Falcons hang with them at all, which is what happened, the Falcons hung with them a little bit until the fourth quarter, the Vikings offense just went nuts.
Yeah, I get the volume concerns for Minnesota, but to me, the volume concerns more translate to Justin Jefferson than they do to Sam Darnold. At quarterback for that price tag, you're just looking for efficiency and touchdowns, and that's what we got. I mean, this game, it was really funny because like Kirk had the volume on the other side, but he just wasn't keeping pace with Darnold at all. Darnold would have 2 passes for 2 touchdowns, and Kirk Cousins would have like 12 passing attempts for 200 yards, and you're like, he should have points, but just the way the DraftKings scoring works, like touchdowns.
And if you look at the ownership, he was not even the most popular. The most popular was actually Will Levis. And look, I don't like to be mean to people. I really don't. But what the fuck were you expecting if you played Will Levis in cash? What did you close your mind's eye? What did you hope was going to happen? Your best case, this is, I can tell you what you thought, because I've been in this spot. The thing you always say when you play someone like Levis, the week I played Jameis in cash, the week that we all played Richardson in cash, what did we think? We thought, how bad can it be? How bad can it be? And the answer with Levis, spoiler alert, with Levis, it can be like you get like, I mean, what did he end up getting? Like 8 points or something?
Yeah, it was not good. It was not good. And he was.
Look how big our train is, by the way. Look at that 194.88 was a massive, massive train.
I mean, it was the right team. I felt really good in cash this week. Like going into lock, it was like, this is the right team.
I really didn't. I mean, I felt that I was going to get
up until.
Well, I'll tell you this. What I knew was going to be the edge was I knew that the locks were going to be underowned, and guess what? They were. Guerrero was only 70%. Kamara was 60%. Charbonnet was only 75%. And you might say, Davis, that's absurd. 75%. Dude, that means 25% of players straight up could not win. They literally generated a lineup that the expected value was 0.
I mean, people don't understand how dead lineups are in cash games sometimes. When someone plays an entry into these big double ups and they don't have Charbonnet, I mean, you're literally, those are rake-free entries. When he's only 75% owned, this contest lost 15% of their rake, because it's normally a 12% rake or whatever. So it's like these contests are free money to get in from an expected value standpoint. Obviously, you don't cash every week, yada, yada, yada. But when people are only playing these guys at a 70% clip, it's insane. This is not close to efficiency. We should see Charbonnet at 100%. I cannot imagine submitting a lineup without Zach Charbonnet this week. I just don't understand what people were thinking. And then you see Barkley at 30% owned, and you're like, what in the world? I mean, Barkley was 27.
That was basically the edge this week. The edge.
Barkley was 26.5% owned. Like, it's insane.
Yeah. I mean that. So and Sammy played around. I actually don't even know what he ended up playing, but he was talking about trying to play both of them, and I tried to play both of them for a second too, just to see what it looked like. But it's just at the end, it made no sense because the best plays of the slate were Guerrero, Charbonnet, and Braylon Allen. Now everyone's gonna laugh and be like, Braylon Allen, dude, that guy sucks. But Braylon Allen, I thought was in the conversation. Ended up playing. So it's so weird.
Braylon was not in. I'm not going to get on board with this take. I don't think Braylon is close to Guerrero or Charbonnet. I think his workload just looked very different. And with what you knew you were going to get from Guerrero and Guerrero, Jordan Mason, like just the San Francisco running back position is just the easiest jam at this price. And then Charbonnet, Charbonnet's workload is better than Kenneth Walker when Kenneth Walker's out. Charbonnet's workload, to me, it was very clearly Charbonnet's best play by far. Then it would go Kamara, and then it would go Garendo, and it's like a huge step down to Braylon. Huge step down.
So I thought that Garendo had more tail risk. And I guess it sounds so stupid now. I thought Garendo had more tail risk because I knew he wasn't going to be involved in the passing game. He did actually, he did literally catch like a 40-yarder or whatever. But Juszczyk plays all the third downs. The thing that I obviously should have calculated for, though, was the Bears, dude. The Bears are dust. They were just going to spend the whole game running downhill. Like, if you told me the final score of that game and you said, oh, like, it's just another Bears, like, they're giving up on the field. Like, yeah, I'm jamming Garendo. The thing I liked about Braylon, and we'll get to tournament stuff later, it's like I knew he was going to work some in the passing game, which he did. I knew he'd get some of the short yardage stuff, which he did. I did not expect a true 50-50 split with Isaiah Davis, which is what it was. That is a good information point moving forward, obviously. And I wouldn't play him to the degree. I kind of thought it would be like a 70-30, more or less. Like Isaiah Davis gets some of the 2-minute drill stuff, but Braylon Allen gets all the short yardage. Braylon Allen gets 4 receptions. That's not what happened. I didn't play him, but I guess we should also, we got to talk about Bowers, dude. We got to talk about now that I think about it, paying $6,500 for a 50% owned Aiden O'Connell tight end, it seems a little fucked up.
I don't know. I'm not going to sweat the Bowers thing. I think even though he has the positional eligibility of a tight end, the reality is the 3 weeks before this, 14 targets, 10 targets, 16 targets. There is any tight end model that you have is broken when it comes to that level of volume for Bowers. And it wasn't game script dependent volume that it was like, oh, at the end of the game, he's just getting a bunch of targets. He's essentially their entire passing offense next to Jacoby. It's him and Jacoby. And so I don't feel bad about playing Bowers. I think people just need to strip away the tight end position and think of, if you saw a wide receiver priced that Bowers was getting 14 targets, 10 targets, 16 targets. And these are highly catchable targets that are not like these. I don't know. In cash games, I'd play him again. Obviously, in cash games, I have no regrets. It's like, it just is what it is. This is maybe you could make the argument his ceiling isn't what a wide receiver getting his volume at the same price tag would be, but his floor definitely is. And I would say, in cash games, I can't imagine a much better play than Bowers.
Yeah, I'm not mad about playing Bowers in cash. Maybe you could argue it is a bit much to be playing Bowers and Myers and then not playing AOC. I think that's probably why some people did play AOC, because they had Bowers and because they had Myers, and they were like, well, if I think those guys are going to get there, I should probably play their quarterback, which I don't ascribe to in cash games. I think obviously in tournaments you should lead that direction. I'm more talking about Bowers as 40% on chalk in GPPs, and everyone's just like, absolutely, gotta jam it, gotta do it. Yeah,
I would say it's the reverse of what I said on the Darnold thing. I think that efficiency is what I'm looking for at the quarterback position, and volume is what I'm looking for at the pass catcher positions. And so the same way that I think that Justin Jefferson is a worse play in cash games with volume concerns and Darnold is an okay play, I think that the receivers of Oakland are an okay play, even if you expect their efficiency to suck, where the quarterback is not where you want to go. So that's where I think Darnold is a better, Darnold and then those Oakland wide receivers is better than paying up for Jefferson and down for AOC.
All right. You almost didn't play Jauan Jennings. Nate, you played Jauan Jennings the week he got 45 and dunked all over us, and you didn't want to play Jauan Jennings here, bro? Come on.
Well, no, it wasn't that I didn't want to play Jauan Jennings. I was just saying that this Jauan Jennings thing is crazy. When you really think about a wide receiver at his age becoming what he has, that just doesn't happen in the NFL. Typically at the wide receiver position, like my thesis generally is like talent can't get blocked. Opportunity becoming available does not suddenly make a wide receiver at his age like a playable guy, but he actually is. Like this is a real thing, and I think he's actually like playable at this price tag. It's not it's something I would do regardless. So I liked him. My text thread this morning was more like, how is this real that his talent has where we're at in his career, like progressed? You just don't see that. At the running back position, you see it all the time of guys, opportunity gets there and these 28-year-olds who haven't done anything suddenly become available. But at the wide receiver position, you just don't see this.
I texted you this morning, and this is the comp that I will make in my head to make it all make sense. It's Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett was a productive wide receiver, but not in a full-time role. His first 3 seasons in Seattle. Did not break out till his age 26 season, where he scored 10 touchdowns, still on limited volume, but got in a different role where he was being used down the field. I actually don't even really remember who his teammates were at this time. His teammates were Doug Baldwin, Jermaine Kearse, Jimmy Graham. Yeah, so he basically was like a rotational number 2. So like if theoretically, if you added on these teams, if you added a prime, well, Jimmy Graham, he would be the Kittle, I suppose. So effectively, yeah, it's more like how wide receivers used to be. Wide receivers, I mean, we'll definitely do a lot of this conversation about best ball this offseason with like Worthy and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rome, some of these guys who did not turn on until later, or in the case of Worthy, never really got going, or Marvin Harrison Jr., who didn't produce at all, is used to take wide receivers a longer time. But I also made this point in our group chat this morning, which is that like a really disproportionate number of Jennings targets in his career came on 3rd downs and in the red zone. He scored 5 touchdowns. I honestly did not really remember that. He also
never saw he never earned volume.
Never.
And targets at the wide receiver position are so predictive. And so when you have a guy coming into the league at 24 who literally hasn't seen above 56 targets in his first 3 seasons, and he's going into his age 27 season, you can write that off 99.9% of the time as an unproductive player for the rest of their career.
Yeah, I mean, look, I tried to write off.
He's a very big anomaly.
I tried to write off Jauan Jennings after he had 50 in that game, and then I didn't bid on him on waivers anywhere that week. I didn't bid on him on waivers after Ayuk tore his ACL. Like I have more Pearsall on waivers and stuff. And sometimes you just got to admit when you're wrong, and I'm just wrong. Jennings,
it's just a seventh round draft pick coming in at 24.
He's a bit of a weird prospect, by the way. He committed to Tennessee as a quarterback and then changed. He was a 5-star quarterback recruit. So maybe that explains it a little bit. But basically, what I'm saying is, I would have died before not. I mean, Jauan Jennings, I think I played him on every team. He was the best play of this. He was of the whole slate.
He was the best play of the whole slate. I mean, especially when you consider just the rest of the wide receiver position and what people were doing. I think that Jauan Jennings and Alvin Kamara were probably the 2 best plays in cash on the slate at their price. And then I would say Charbonnet. Then I would probably say Judy. Then I would say Bowers. Jacoby was probably a little thinner than usual this week. I thought Drake London was a great play, but a lot of people did weird things at wide receiver. A lot of people
I tried to get to London. I tried to get to London.
I thought London was fine. A lot of people tried to get up to Evans or Jefferson, and I think that was a mistake. I've already talked about the Jefferson thing. Jefferson, even though Jefferson is undoubtedly the best receiver in the league, the volume just has not been there for him to pay off this price tag consistently. And so no matter how efficient he is, like there is just more risk to his range of outcomes than there should be based on his talent level. So I wasn't going to play Jefferson in cash games. I wasn't going to pay for Evans. Ridley, I didn't think was as good as those other guys. And so
Jefferson, by the way, I would have understood where you do Jefferson instead of Myers and you play Braylon Allen instead of Kamara. I'm not saying it's good, but I understand it. And I wouldn't have said you shouldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? Like I
think what
I get
people
that.
did though was then they went down to like Van Jefferson or
Calvin Austin. I saw people
Austin.
played Calvin Austin. Yeah.
Yeah, people played Calvin Austin. That's what it was. And it was just like, I just don't think that was worth it. I mean, I think Jauan, Jacoby were the mid-price guys that you wanted. And I thought Judy was as well. So I just felt like if you counted up the targets that I was getting from Jennings, Judy, Jacoby, and Bowers at that price tag, I don't know. I just jam in expected production at the wide receiver tight end position like that, and you're going to be fine.
If you look at it on a mobile, you can actually find the ownership percentage of the players. I want to find how owned Calvin Austin. Calvin Ridley was 12%, which people split Ridley and Jennings. I think that's fine. I had no issue if you played Ridley over, not Jennings, over Myers or Judy.
Austin was 16% in the.
Okay. That
Austin
Nick Westbrook-Akine was 8%, bro. I play pretty bad sometimes. I do dumb shit. I've never done anything as dumb as playing Nick Westbrook-Akine or Calvin Austin in cash.
I mean, yeah, Aiden O'Connell was 14%. And Calvin Austin was 16%. There is still an edge in 2020. People complaining about these ownerships. There is still an edge.
Really, really.
How was Westbrook? Yeah, I don't know. So, I mean, yeah, I think that if you played Braylon, I think you played bad. I think if you played Calvin Austin, you played bad. I'm fine with Levis. I think Darnold was the play.
I think you're right. All right, we got to show the people. Well, actually, hold on real quick. No, we got to talk about Kamara real quick. And then we can do Sammy's lineup. So 2 things with Kamara. The first being projections were definitely making the case that Taysom being out was going to be an even further volume increase for him. That turned out to very much not be true. Kendre Miller was actually like more involved than Kamara, than Taysom was as a rusher, not more involved than Taysom overall. But then the other thing is, we are now to the stage of a season where this is why Alvin Kamara was a 7th round pick in best ball, because the thing we remembered is Alvin Kamara without the juice. Alvin Kamara after he'd spent the entire season getting tackled. Alvin Kamara, what he looks like. Ezekiel, what do you have? 16 rushes for 40 yards today or something. I'm not saying he was a bad play, but I think that he has now been projected for over 22 DraftKings points consecutively for 6 weeks and has not topped 18 DraftKings points once in that situation. It might be the projections that are wrong and not the people who are fading him, if that makes sense.
I would say the only reason I'm concerned is because there was an actual workload dip.
Yep.
The only reason I'm concerned is because of that.
In a competitive game, by the way.
Yes. In a competitive game where his workload should have increased, it dipped significantly. So he's had, if we go back till, what was that, week 8, here are his expected points by week: 20.8, 26.7, 23.0, 18.0, and 21.21. That's insane. And then this week, he's down to 15 expected points. Now, 15 expected points is still great. I mean, that's roughly what like Saquon will get on a week-to-week basis. 15 expected DraftKings points is still like really good at the running back position, but it's not his 20 plus that he was getting with a ceiling of 26. So that combined with knowing that his efficiency is probably going to be lower, whereas someone like Barkley, you might project for similar expected production, but you will expect his efficiency to be much better. This closes the gap between Alvin Kamara and Barkley quite a bit.
I think you're right. I mean, basically, I'll just say this. I played A-Chain. You're on mute.
But he wasn't a bad play. I don't think it was a bad play. It's just, I do think moving forward, we need to think about it.
I don't think he was a bad play, and this pertains less to cash and more for tournaments, but like every week we're like, oh my God, look at the Sklansky's of playing Alvin Kamara. The field always plays him less than he's being projected. And I'm like, well, I don't know. The field might be directionally accurate there. Because like A-Chain was who I preferred to Kamara in tournaments, and he was like 4% owned in contests, whereas Kamara, I mean, actually, I don't even know what Kamara was owned. I guess we're going to find out here in a moment.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right.
get to tournaments. I don't think my thesis that the field is generally correct is the take I would have, especially in the NFL. Maybe if this was MLB or NBA, but the field is not sharp. The field just does not play sharp. Even though we're on week, what are we, 14? I don't think the field is that sharp.
No. Holistically, sure, but like in the aggregate, it's still going to punish you if you make mistakes. And the thing is on DraftKings is the pricing is so tight that there are, I mean, I see this every day when I run optimals. I mean, there'll literally be 200 teams that are within a 1.5 or something. Like that's just the way, that's just the way it works. Okay, let's get to Mr. Whirling Dervish, Sammy Reid, who is not here to defend himself. He played Will Levis in cash. I'm not quite sure why. I am sure why, but he did it. He played Guerrero, Kamara, and Charbonnet. He got up to the Saints defense, so he did get one more defensive point than we did. He also played Brock Bowers, but he effectively made the concession of he wanted to get to Mike Evans. So he did two things to get to Mike Evans. He played Levis instead of Darnold. He played Elijah Moore instead of Jacoby Myers. And then he played Mike Evans instead of Jerry Jeudy. So the team in totality scored 151.52 points. Nate and I's dupe train team. Insane dupe train team. Scored
This is
194.8. I mean, it's really, really bad.
This is bad. Basically, everything he did, he went off of the optimal and went worse. Like he just got less expected points, worse game script, worse team totals. Pretty much everything he did, I just disagree with. Like in the last couple of weeks, Sammy's gotten fancy and actually bet on the right side of it.
I was going to say he learned the wrong lesson from the no ball plays.
Yeah. This was a step backwards for him entirely. This Elijah Moore thing, this Mike Evans thing. I mean, it's not as bad of a lineup as it could be because he still had the best 3 running back plays. So like there's only so much wrong you could do, and he had Jauan, but like he pretty much went wrong everywhere he could. Like where he decided to go off, he went off.
By the way, just because I happen to pull it up, Levitan did do the crazy team. He played Darnold, Sharp, Kamara, Jennings, Jefferson, Calvin Austin, Bowers, Guerrero, and the Saints. So he scored 1 billion points. I had a feeling that he would not that Levitan would show up not with Jacoby Myers, not Jacoby Myers in the cuck chair, which honestly I get. Jacoby Myers stinks, man. He stinks. So the mistake Sammy made, if you really look at it, it's having a want play and placing that over the rest of the lineup. And the want play was Mike Evans. The want play was, I want to play Mike Evans. I don't want to play Jacoby Myers, basically. Yeah. And you look at it and you go, okay, I don't want to play Jacoby Myers. I want to play Mike Evans. How can I keep the core of what I like and sacrifice the least? So he's like, okay, I can still keep Kamara. I can still keep Bowers. I can still keep Sharps and Guerrero. I don't really care that much about Sam Darnold versus Levis, effectively. And then, Elijah Moore and Jerry Jeudy, it's like the same. And to be fair, I mean, I actually think Moore is pretty defensible, honestly. Moore has, like, especially with Woods playing him, not with Tillman, his targets per route run has been really strong. He does come off the field in 12 personnel, but a lot of guys we play in cash come off the field. Josh Downs comes off the field in 12 personnel,
Yeah, I mean, the Moore Jeudy thing, whatever. It's close, but it's the Evans thing I really have a problem with.
Yeah. I mean, look, I wanted to play Evans. I don't dislike Sammy's team as much as you do. Honestly, I would have liked this better with AOC. Actually, could he have fit? He could have fit Jameis and the Titans defense on this. Jameis was 5,600, right?
Yeah, he could have.
Yeah, so that is way better. Jameis and a punt defense, Jameis and the Browns or whatever. That is far better, in my opinion, than what he did.
Yeah, that would have been better. This just, he took away the wrong lesson in the last few weeks. I wish he was here because he would just have to fess up. I mean, this is bad. He played bad.
Yes. Yeah, he would have. And he would have I think he would have admitted it. I don't think this would have been a spot where he'd be like, "No, dude, it really if you really look at it, you know." I think he would have understood. Okay. Are you ready?
It was a good week. I'm glad we had one of these weeks where cash felt
nice and easy.
Like you grind it out all season for this 8% ROI, this 10% ROI. Weeks like this are nice when the field just doesn't play the best plays and just leaves money on the table for you. It helps. Because the season's a grind.
Well, and the thing that is extra crazy, the layer on top of that is we have already seen guys be 90% owned in cash this year. How the fuck was Charbonnet not literally 90? The massive $25 double up. I mean, maybe I didn't register for the 50 this week. There might not have even been a massive 51.
It was like right over 1,000 people. It wasn't big. It wasn't that big.
I was gonna say by the time I was lazy this week. I didn't register for any contests until last night. Maybe he would have been more in that, and then obviously if you get I'm sure in the 250 or whatever, he was 100%. Maybe he wouldn't have been. Maybe even in the.
In higher stakes, he was definitely more owned, and so was Kamara. But 70% is just egregious. I mean, if you didn't play Charbonnet, you should look in the mirror and probably not play cash the rest of this year. I just don't understand what your process would be and how you would get there.
Yeah,
there's just nothing defensible.
All right, I think we might. I'm gonna check. I think we might have the actuals on the salt. We do. All right, beautiful. All right, I'll lead with a couple of my teams did okay today. I did not have a Josh Allen or Stafford or anything, so no sweats for me today. But I will lead with my funniest team because I don't really know what I was thinking when I played this team. I played a Caleb Williams team in the Spy. Do you know what might have gotten into me? What's the deal there? Why did I do that?
Okay, but you didn't. The bad part of this Caleb Williams team is that you stacked him with you just did a Rome single. If you play Caleb Williams, you're playing Caleb Williams because you're hoping for this late game volume and that he's going to support multiple receivers. Just a single stack feels like you're playing for some level of efficiency that you're trying to thread a needle too much.
But I didn't have
You're just trying to thread a needle too much.
I didn't have to because I knew that I was going to get super unique in two other spots, which I did. So I'm curious actually how this sims with the actuals because I think ownership went my way on all of these. So the team was Caleb Williams stacked with Rome Odunze. The salary there, I could have played Jauan Jennings, so I could have started to swap things around if I had wanted to. Caleb Williams, Devin Achane, who is 7% owned, Braylon Allen, who is 17% owned compared to the insane ownerships on Guerrero and Sharps. Not to say they weren't right, but just saving some product owned there. Rome, who was what was he? He was 3.6% owned. Justin Jefferson was 29%. Sterling Shepard, who was I thought he was kind of a secret play. Turns out on a slate where everyone scores 1 billion points, it doesn't really matter. Some slates, 10 points from a 4K guy would help. This is not the one. Bowers at 40.3%. Charbonnet at 58.6, Saints at 17.4. I think this will sim all right in the post, just because A-Chain. I mean, A-Chain, I thought was the gold star greatest play. No, not very good. 9.59% sim ROI. Damn. Yeah, I guess you're right. Really, it is. I should have done, DJ Moore or whatever. Like, I should have got DJ Moore or Keenan in here.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing about this team is this team does give up. I mean, one of the things I would look at if I were you is like when you're building, look at how many points off the optimal you are. Like a rough estimate of like some.
Well, I run all this stuff through the solver before I submit it. So before lock, this would have been a positive sim ROI team.
So you're giving up probably 6 to 10 points of projection from the optimal, and you're just not gaining enough from ownership. And so if you're going to do that, what you need to do is over correlate, because you need those pieces to be like really highly correlated off that. Because if you're going to give up 6 or 7 points off optimal, you want to give up you want to get significantly different from ownership. And I just don't think you have enough difference from ownership to make the points that you gave up worth it.
I mean, I don't know, man. With A-Chain was 7% owned. Gurendo was 50% owned. I'm trying to find Kamara. Kamara was 30% owned.
I would guess, and I don't have I would guess if you pull up what my team is on this thing, I'm probably 4 or 5 points higher than you and maybe 10% points more ownership. So it's like, I'll take that every day.
Well, here, we can look.
And I don't think I even played well in this tournament. What did I play in this one?
Here, let me put this on another tab. 138.45 is my projection, and my product own, the total ownership is 174.4.
Okay, so here's what I played in this lineup. I did Darnold, Kamara, Charbonnet, London, DK Metcalf, Addison, Hawkinson, Bowers, and Browns D.
Nate, I have a team that is so much like this with Addison and Hawkinson.
I mean, I have a ton of Darnold doubles.
Yeah.
But
Sharp and who?
Kamara, Sharps, London, Metcalf, Addison, Hawkinson.
Flex and defense.
Flex was Bowers. It was a 2 tight end team, and then Browns D.
All right. Sim. This will sim well because it's a Vikings double. Yeah. Your total own and your product own was higher, but yeah, you're right. Yours projected 5 points better.
So that's where it's like, if you're going to get, so what did you give up? 5 points of total?
I gave up 5 points, but my product own is 50, or my total own is 50 percentage points lower than yours. More actually, even
50. Okay. Then yeah, maybe that's okay. 50% is actually more than I would have expected. Cause I thought, wait, are these actuals? Cause Darnold did not come in at 9. Those aren't actuals.
I think it's the actual field that it's simming it against.
Got it. But those ownership percentage sums.
These ownership percentages are off. Yeah.
Cause that's where this team, I mean, Darnold came in way under owned. So
yeah, he did.
Darnold was like one of the best. I mean, Geno was the most under-owned. Geno was like free money in tournaments. I mean, Geno was all the Skolansky bucks. Geno came in at 2% owned in this contest. So, and then DK came in a little under-owned. Kamara obviously always comes in a little under-owned. But yeah, I mean, the Vikings doubles were good. So
yeah, Vikings doubles were good. I played a couple Vikings doubles. The thing is I didn't get Vikings doubles in the right direction. I didn't get Vikings with Jefferson and Addison, Vikings with, it's either Darnold, Jefferson, Darnold, Addison, Hawkinson. The existence of Hawkinson keeps costing me money because I keep tacking him onto these stacks.
Yeah. And it sims out well. So like, obviously it hasn't worked, but I mean, Hawkinson should be a good play. It's just not working. Maybe McBride. The Hawkinson thing this week is frustrating. I had a ton of Hawkinson, and he killed most of my good teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this, what field was this? The spy,
the big spy, the four.
Yeah.
The
So in this field, yeah, Gino came in at 2% owned. Probably was expected around 7 to 8. Najee came in at 3% owned. Jauan Jennings was under owned at 12%. And then one of my favorites is always look at the over owned. Wow. Westbrook Akine, 10% owned. Terrible play. Saquon was 35% owned in this field.
I mean, we should talk about the Saquon thing. Just like in general, let's see how many teams did I play him on? Let me look. I wouldn't have not been. I played him on 2 teams. He got 17 points. I think I played him in the red zone here. I played him on a red zone team with Baker. 33.9% owned. I mean, what is Jennings doing being at 14.9% owned? Crazy. I mean, Barkley at 33. I guess everyone just went insane. They just said he's playing the Panthers. He's getting 1 billion points.
I mean, Barkley being more owned than Kamara. Barkley being more owned. I mean, yeah, it's just bad. And then Jefferson being 29% owned in these fields. Calvin Austin, 23% was bad play. Mike Evans, 24% was not a good play. And then you get guys like Drake London. Drake London and Mike Evans being the same ownership, not good. Drake London is a much better play at that same ownership. So,
yeah, what were the best plays in your, just overall the best plays and the worst plays in your stuff?
For this field specifically, the best plays was Gino, Najee, Jauan Jennings, Alvin Kamara. Trey McBride was actually simmed out pretty well, even at 17%.
Because he was projected like a point less than Bowers, but Bowers was like literally 5X's owned.
Yeah, he was. So yeah, McBride simmed out well. And then the worst plays were Akine above. Let me see. I'll just filter to above 10% owned. And yeah, Westbrook Akine, Saquon. Aiden O'Connell was 23%.
Okay.
That is insane.
I thought that was the craziest thing. Aiden O'Connell being the most owned quarterback of a slate. Unbelievable.
That's terrible. And then yeah, Mike Evans being 25% owned is not good. Pollard is a little weird to see 10%. So
I thought Pollard was a pretty good play.
I mean, I don't know. Some of these other. So yeah, I mean, overall, nothing like crazy, but that Aiden O'Connell one's pretty bad. So, let's see, which team should I sim? Let's do my double spy team. I like that one. It was another Darnold team.
The 277 or the 833?
833.
Okay, hit me.
Let's see, Darnold, Kamara, Bijan, Jauan Jennings.
Was a really good play.
Drake London, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Zach Charbonnet, Browns D.
Jennings, Addison, Sharbs. All right, who did I miss? Wide receiver, tight end, defense.
Let's see. No, not Jacoby. I had Addison, London, Jennings, Hawkinson, Charbonnet, Browns D.
All right. I wonder. This one is going to sim pretty well. I probably had something very close to this. Yeah, this will be 87% sim ROI. 60.63. So the thing that I obviously think is pretty strong is these guys were all good plays in a vacuum.
And then ownership went my way on most of them.
Well, a lot of the times when you do the game stack, you're playing at least one guy who projects like shit. You're playing Jameson Williams. You're playing Quentin Johnston. You're playing Xavier Worthy. You're playing, just the guy who's 58 to 6,400, who has spike weeks sometimes, but he projects terribly and always gets overowned. But that was not the case here.
Yeah. So when it flipped over and I saw Bijan at 2.3% owned, I mean, I got really excited. When you get Bijan with his ceiling at 2% owned on a bring back, where you also get Jordan Addison at 7%, Hawkinson at 8%, and Darnold at 12%. Like, this team wasn't, I mean, it didn't go like off. I mean, it went for 205. So it was like top 50. But just those ownerships, like if I could play this team again, I'd play this team 100 times. Like when you have like such a high upside game stack that also like just projects well from a median perspective, but then has no ownership.
You never find stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how, like this team just seemed to thread a needle of like, it fit into the field in just a really good way.
Yeah. Kamara, man, he's a silent killer.
Well, Hawkinson killed all of my teams this week. I had so much Hawkinson.
Hawkinson stinks. I'm hoping Xavier Worthy scores while we're doing this on air. He probably won't, but you can imagine what it would be like if he did. I can't believe I checked my best ball teams. Thought the Justin Jefferson 30 ball would help, but I think the Josh Allen 50 ball hurt worse. But we keep grinding, and we'll be back next week with Sammy. Are you gonna be in? Are you in the playoff best ball streets? Are you sick enough to be grinding these?
No, I donked off enough in my season-long best ball stuff that I probably should withhold from these playoff contests. But the game theories there, like these playoff ones are really fun. So I might jump in. We'll see, but I shouldn't. I will lose money if I do, for sure.
Well, we persevere. Everyone, thank you very much for listening. If you are listening to this on the Roto Grinders Fantasy Football Podcast feed, we do this live Sunday nights on YouTube. So come hang out with us over at the Davis Mattek YouTube channel, and we'll be back with Sammy next week.
It's Short King Summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's Short Kings.